Why did the Democrats lose last week?
I think there are a number of reasons, but there was a pivotal moment in the campaign, and that was on The View, when the vice president was asked, what would you have done different in the last 4 years than President Biden did? Now, we were in a country that 65% thought had gone off on the wrong track. And that's the money question. And she said, I can't think of anything. And, of course, the Trump people had it up as an ad 6 hours later. And when you're in a country that wants something different, you got to give them something different. And we had a whole bevy of candidates that were very articulate, very able to distill and put a message out, but we were never allowed to choose that. And we were just where we were. And that was not a good answer. And people will come back and say, well, she did a lot of things right. Yeah, if you do 49 things right, but you do the big thing wrong, it haunts you in politics. It's a business where some things stick harder than other things.
Yeah. Well, and that's a point that's very much a right now point, James. What you said about Biden, those numbers, her being partly arguing for change, but being tied to Biden. There's the larger thing that happens, as you know, after every election, which is everybody says the party should do what they were saying anyway. Meaning the liberals want it more left, the centrists want it more center, yada, yada. I want to play Bernie Sanders, who on the one hand has been consistent about what he thinks, but on the other hand, maybe that means it's just the same answer every time. But here's what Sanders said now.
If you're an average working person out there, do you really think that the Democratic Party is going to the mats, taking on powerful special interests and fighting for you? I think the overwhelming answer is no, and that is what has got to change. When you have millions and millions of people working for starvation wages, you got to speak to that reality.
Was that the problem? It wasn't done enough, and you are, James, if nothing else. I never like to talk about, and if I didn't know you better, I wouldn't talk about what could go on your tombstone, hopefully many decades from now. But it might be it's the economy stupid, among other things. So you, as Mr. It's the economy stupid, was this an economy election? And if so, is Sanders right that on populist, working class, kitchen table issues, the Dems didn't do enough?
Well, what he is not right about, the Democrats have done a number of things for working people. I mean, Obamacare expanded health care for 23 million more people than had it before. A lot of things in President Biden's Build Back Better program created millions of jobs for working people. But I think Senator Sanders has some of a point here, and that is there were things we could have run on harder that have effect. The minimum wage. It passes everywhere by 70%. I mean, I know that President Biden was for it and Harris was for it, but we didn't put it front and center. What about taxing the incomes over $400,000 and taking that money and put it in a first-time home buyer's mortgage relief fund? I mean, there were things that Senator Sanders would favor that we could have put more front and center. Now, there are a lot of things that are just popular that Democrats are for, and they're popular with every kind of Democrat in the country. They also happen to be popular with independents and even some Republicans. And we should run on a popular thing. A popular thing was not continuing the Biden administration. That was clearly not what people wanted. I think he's a great guy, but people didn't want more of that, and that's what we gave him.
I mean, yeah, I'm letting that sink in. You know, it's funny. I'm just going to talk to you really directly. It's like the biggest thing ever happened. You got rid of a sitting incumbent president after he'd won the primary. It's never happened before. And the reason was that everybody from Pelosi on down had absorbed the fact that he was going to lose big, so you had to do something big. And then you land on, as you just argued, his literal replacement and a message that was still very much tied to Bidenism. So was that almost all baked in? I mean, how would you have changed that? Only had there been a different candidate?
Yeah, okay, so he gets out on July 21st. Harris has to keep the campaign headquarters in Wilmington. She keeps Biden's campaign manager. She keeps the entire staff. All right. That's a hard thing to do because they're not going to. Jen Dillon O'Malley Dillon's not going to attack Biden. Biden is. I wouldn't no more now would attack Clinton. But each thing is different, and we didn't have a choice. So, like I said, we didn't get to kick the tires. We didn't get to look under the hood. We didn't get to, look at the trim. We were just given the keys at full sticker price, and honestly, we had no choice. But by July 21st, we probably didn't have much of a choice. And Ari, the thing that I will believe to pass my dying day is this: the talent level in the Democratic Party is utterly breathtaking. I would have given anything if we could have gotten 5 or 6 of these people out on the track, let them run around, let people look at them, and just see, because when they look at us, they think we're an urban old party that's attached to some exotic positions, which is not the case of many Democrats out there in the country that are very skilled and would have made a great primary and a lot of fun, and I think would have done the party brand a lot of good.
So let me put it like this. Where does that responsibility lie on the timing and how late Biden got out? Because if you're going to get out, get out earlier. Does that lie with, well, let me ask the question, James. Does that lie with the brain trust around him or with Joe Biden himself?
With the President Biden himself. Presidents are responsible for everything. They're not. They have aides, they have people, at friends, they have everything else. But if he would have gotten out in the fall of last year, we'd have had 8 people running for president of every kind of thing you could imagine all over the country. And I mean some really skilled people. But when you wait till the end, ultimately he's in charge. I don't blame the staff. I don't blame anybody else. He's the one that made the decision to stay. He stayed in over 3 weeks after the debate. I mean, even if he would have gotten out the day after the debate, we might have been able to organize some town halls and get this talent out there. That's what kills me. Is I know how good some of these people are, and they're sitting there playing They got 350 hitters all over AAA ball. Well, they're not any good unless you bring them up.